Hello. Yeah.
Hi, hello.
Uh,
Yeah, we can wait for 5 more minutes and then we'll start.
all right.
Can we start? Okay. So, welcome and welcome back to News of Meetup Group for Lucknow City. So, the topic for today is Solar Cube and Power of Data Wave. Thank you all for joining this meetup. So, the topic for today is the introduction, Power of Data Wave, MuleSoft code review automation using SonarQube, Q&A, quiz. Then we'll go with MuleSoft training and certification, and we'll see what's next. Now going forward with the introduction. So the MuleSoft meetup group for Lucknow City is to get the more kind of knowledge and to discuss on the topics from the MuleSoft, to get some more insights where we'll connect with people from different different backgrounds. They'll come, they'll share their knowledge from MuleSoft, and we'll increase our networking by this. If you want to have any updates for this MuleSoft Lucknow City, you'll go to our official page for MuleSoft Lucknow, and you just have to add your first name, last name, and your email address to get your joining details. If there are any new updates, then you will get those details in this Lucknow City. So you can register uh, as and when you will get the updates. So the organizers for this events are Akib Javed. So he is a MuleSoft meetup leader for Lucknow City. He is working with more than 2 years for MuleSoft products, and he is a MuleSoft certified developer. If you want to have any queries, you can reach out through LinkedIn, and this is the link to. If you have any queries, you can reach out to Akib, or else you can reach out to me. I'll introduce myself in a short. I have experience of 3+ years working in the MuleSoft domain, and the domains like life sciences and retails as well. And I am a certified MuleSoft developer. If you want, if you want to reach out with any queries, you can connect through LinkedIn, and this is the link. Speakers for today are Supriya Pawar and Sumit Ahuja. So these two people are the speakers for this event, and they are also leading the MuleSoft meetup for Kochi city. And Supriya is having 7+ years of experience in integration and API technologies. She is MuleSoft developer and an integration architect and platform architect. So when it comes to Sumit, he is having 5+ years of experience in integration and API technologies. He is too a certified MuleSoft developer, integration architect, and platform architect. So moving forward, these are the guidelines for today. So to all the attendees who are attending this meetup, if you have any questions in between, you can type those questions in the chat, and we'll try to answer those questions, and anyone can answer those questions. So the remaining questions will be asked in behalf at the end of your session. Okay, so the recording will be shared. If you could miss this opportunity to attend, and if you miss some insights, you can go to this link, and you will get to know the recording as well. So the feedback is the most important thing that drives us. So your feedback content should be we would be needing your feedback content through the surveys, and just let us know what you think. So we will start with power of data weave, and I'll get the ball rolling to Supriya and Sumit. So over to you, Supriya and Sumit.
Thank you, Rutuja. So I think, Supriya, you're going to share your screen, right?
Yes, Sumit, give me just one moment.
Yep, sure. Supriya, I think I can see your screen. Can you move keep the slide on the very first slide, Power of Data View?
Yeah, sorry, I was speaking on mute. I'm sorry. So I'm just sharing it again. Just check. So I'll be on the page number 10, Sumit, which is starting of a data weave. Are you able to see slide number 10?
Power of Data View. Can you go on slide number 9, please?
Hmm.
Yep, thank you. So yeah, thank you, Rituja, for organizing this, so for giving us such an opportunity, and for introducing us. So I already, so Rituja already gave introduction on me. So my name is Sumit Ahuja. A very good evening to all of you. Hope you all are. So as it's power of data weave, so you all know, like from integration point of view, when we create or when we implement any to communicate with each other, because any because when the data sensed by any of the third party or any of the system, so there is a reason data view comes into picture, which plays a role of transformation of data. So that's the reason, that's the main use of data view. But we commonly known data view as like we just need to do some transformations from one data format to another data format, but that is not just the use of data view. So it to cover what are the additional benefits, what are the going to achieve using data with the transformations of data. Okay. So
Sumit, I'm already on a next slide.
yeah. So yeah. So transforming data which allows us to do the data transformation to perform the express, which is used to configure in all the connectors and in all the components. So basically, it times to features of all the languages which have XSLT, SQL, and many more streaming functionalities, programming functionalities, power packed. So these are just the use of that. So we'll read one by one. Data view is a use of expression language for accessing and transforming data within New Labs, if you already covered. It's not only limited to data we are going to see in the upcoming slides. It provides module or Lambda function. So there are involved in the data view. So we are going to cover that as flow control and scope operations. Yes. And it also provides the feasibility for streaming functionalities and also preview mapping, which is a very our basic requirement when we start before we start any transformation to avoid any possible errors. So Surya, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So these are the standard data formats that we have in our data weave. So starting from the very basic one, XML, JSON, Java. Along with that, we have other data formats as well, which are YAML, form data, text plain, which are most probably used. But the very basic, rare ones which are used are AVRO and the CAV and the DWL data weave. So these are the standard data weave formats that we have. So data weave can read and write many types of data formats and many others. So these are the standard data formats that we have in DataWeave. The next slide, please. So we'll talk about read function. Two functions. So is used in content. So for read some file or read form to read a file. So all the reader cannot determine the content type by default. So for example, if you see in the snippet, on the first snippet, we can see we have used a read URL function here, where we have a class path as a uh, we have a class path as a property that we are using of the read URL, and in class path we have to provide path of the file that this test.xsx file is being stored in SRC main resources, and from that we are reading that file using all those. So what I am trying to achieve here, I want to say here is basically instead of writing, we can directly use this read functionalities to read any file in any format, and it will allow us to do. So the difference between read URL is able to provide us the class path protocol prefix, but read URL.
Sorry, Sumit,
And
can't
other
hear
than that,
you.
read URL accepts the same arguments as
Can you please speak a little
yeah,
bit louder? We are getting ping from people that they are not able to hear you properly.
okay, sure, I'll be louder.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it is good, Sumit.
Hello, Sumit.
I can see the same.
Uh, yeah, now it is lookup. Now it is lookup operation, Sumit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So, lookup operation. So, can anyone please, like, if they know what this lookup operation does? So, I would like to know, like, is anyone having this idea, like, what lookup operation does? So, I request you not to look on the slide, please. Why we have this lookup operation in DataView? Like, anyone from the participants list can wants to pick that up.
So, Rutuja, have you made people are on the is their mic started? Are they able to speak or they are just writing? Because I'm not able to see. So probably if you can check people are giving answers or not, and you can prompt the same.
Yeah, Supriya. So, people are not having the access to speak, so they are writing in that chat window. We are getting answers like to call from the sub to get the flow, private flow and subflow.
Absolutely. Right. So Sumit, go ahead. Rutuja, we have Sumit, or he's not there.
Yeah.
All right, all right. I'll cover in detail. Yeah, thank you. So basically, this function will enable you to execute a flow within a Mule app and will retrieve the resulting payload of that flow. So it acts like a flow reference that we have. So flow reference is used when we want to execute when we want to call another flow. So yeah, I'm
There's a
speaking.
lag actually. There's a
Can you
lag,
hear me?
Sumit. So this is I spoke probably 30 seconds ago, but it's okay. Like lookup function is something Sumit has already explained. So the one important
Hello.
note is that lookup function cannot call a subflow. So this is really important. If you'll try to call the subflow from lookup flow, it will give you error. Sumit, I am in the core page now.
Are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me now? I just rejoined.
Yes, Sumit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So yeah, thank you, Sophia, for covering that lookup function. I was having some network issues and then I rejoined. Okay. So okay.
Okay.
So can you share that screen again?
Yeah. Yes, Sumit, I've shared. Rutuja, is even my voice is coming late? Is it
No,
lagging,
no. You are,
or it is coming on
yeah,
time?
you are not lagging, Supriya. Your voice is completely fine.
Okay, I think there are some issues with Sumit's network. Sumit, are you there? There's a lag, Sumit, actually of 30-40 seconds. That's causing a problem.
Hello, hello. Sorry guys, I was having some network issues. Sophia, can you go to the core slides, please? Core slide page.
Hmm.
Yep, thank you, thank
Yes.
you. Okay, so as we all know that there are ample functions of data weave that we are using on our regular daily basis to fulfill our business requirements. But in today's session, we are going to cover some unique and impactful functions using which we can optimize our data weave to the next level. So latest, basically they are newly introduced in Mule 4.3, and some are already there from Mule 4.2 and later. Our goal is to bring all of those functions in front of you and provide little glimpse of the understanding so that we should know which function will be more optimum in which scenario. Okay, so we'll start with a very basic module, which is core module, and the functions that we have in core module are very like the other one which we are using most probably almost 80% of the time. So we'll start with the first one, which is map. So can you move on to the next slide, please, Sophia?
Yes, Sumit. Next slide is there.
What is this move and out to a new array? So when JSON map or map in our data, so when we want
voice is quite breaking, Sumit, and I think we have lost you again.
Rutuja, I think Sumit has some major issues, and some like one cannot do anything to the network
Yes.
issues and the technical glitches. So let's just do one thing. I don't want people to be on the hold, and I'm really sorry for the inconvenience which is getting caused. But yeah, this is indeed a good topic, but this is something which we can cover up later, and we'll move on to our next topic, which is sonar code validation. So
To
the topic
continue.
which we were discussing so far. So I'll keep my Rutuja. Can you just give a call to Sumit and
Yes,
speak
sure.
to him? Late.
Mhm.
In meanwhile, I'll
Yeah.
talk about this. Okay. So yeah, once again, really sorry, folks, for happening this, but there is definitely this topic can be covered next time. There are some nice tricks and this thing which Sumit has brought up in this slide, but today he is facing some technical issues, so we really cannot help some network and technical issues which he has. That's something which he has pinged me. So let's put on our hands and let's start with the code review automation using a Sonar Cube. I am keeping the slide like this only. If anybody has issues, I'll keep checking the comment section, and you just let me know. Okay, so let's talk about a MuleSoft code review. For example, why is code review important? And here in the I'll go here now, and I want to hear from people that is there any code review. For example, people have manual sheets are created, or there are some different tools. So anybody would like to tell me that what is getting used in their organization or their respective projects? So we'll just spend 30 seconds of time on that, and if anybody has that answer, we can talk about it. Or it is just I'll consider that people do a peer review and they have their particular sheet. You are already, Srinivas, doing a Sonar Cube. That is nice. White source is something we would like to hear. That's great. That's great. So many people are already doing a sonar. So how, like what I have brought as point of a sonar is actually in my organization so far we are using a manual code review which has n number of points, which is like some 150 or 200 points are there. So we all are on the same page. Being a developer or being an architect, we know how important is the code review. Okay, so it ensures that there's a consistent design and implementation. It definitely minimizes the mistakes in future which we are making in the APIs or applications which we develop. The quality is getting increased. It increases the code performance also. And definitely, like when we have started with some APIs, the code review checklist is something which gets on like that gets a addition of the points, and the points which we keep on adding, and that those points will talk about the new techniques. So code review using Sonar. Now Sonar Cube checks your code on the following quality topics. So this is something which Sonar is already going to check: a duplication in active code, a software architect, unit test, complexity, potential error, the source code guidelines, comment, and documentation. This is
Just a
high
second.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you
Rutuja.
please turn on the slideshow option?
The problem is I wanted to see people's
Okay.
comment. Otherwise, Rutuja,
Yes,
you
sure.
keep guiding me. If this is not fine, I'm just increasing a bit. I think this should be fine, or no?
Yeah, this is fine now. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is the high level points which we have discussed, but the demo which we are going to see for Mule 3 and Mule 4, there are some points which are already added, which with respect to that, the code review happens. Okay, so next one is, next slide is a prerequisite. Let's talk about a prerequisite. Okay, so download and install a SonarQube Community Edition. Download and set up a Java SDK 11. Install and build a Mule SonarQube plugin. Now, Mule SonarQube plugin, why it is necessary? Because the SonarQube Community Edition or the usual plugins, they don't have a language like a Mule. They only cover languages like Java, C++. So by default, Sonar will not come up with this Mule plugin. That is the reason Mule SonarQube plugin is something which separately we need to call. So this slide will be shared later on, and this slide is actually a hyperlink. You can go on this respective links and download this. So I'll show you my window where I have downloaded the SonarQube plugin master and also the SonarQube Community Edition. And this is JDK 11.09. Actually, it supports only JDK 11 and above. Okay. Now there are some config changes, a jar creation. Before that, let's have a look. Yeah, this is this folder which I've created. In that there is a SonarQube plugin master. Okay, and the another thing is a SonarQube. So what I was telling you on the next slide is a Sonar properties and wrapper configurations. While installing and running the Sonar on the local machine, we observe that there are some port issues. Okay, the port issues were because, for example, let me show you. This was the type of, the Sonar web port. So this was giving a elasticity issue when we were, when we were setting up this environment and etc. The default value, whatever it was coming, it was not allowing to set it up. So here is something, the Sonar property is something you can play around and you can keep on adding a new port and then you can try to run your SonarQube. At last, there should be a message wherein the SonarQube is up. This should be the message at last. Later, about the next slide. Okay, so Sonar properties and wrapper configuration is there. On my slide, I have provided a command which is this MVN clean package sonar packaging sonar plugin. The language is equal to Mule. Now, as I told you that Mule plugin will not come up with, but this Mule plugin we need to add into the Sonar. How do we do about it? So the thing is, this is the Sonar. If you see the quality profiles, I would like to show you the quality profiles wherein these are the profiles, which are these languages. Let's give 10 seconds to see what are the default languages. Okay. Let's talk about Mule profiles. Okay. So what step I have performed here is after running this command on the Sonar plugin master, this jar will get created. I will tell you how to use this jar further, but if we don't create this jar, in the quality profile, our Mule profiles are not going to come. On top of that, even if the MuleSoft profile are going to get pop-up, we have to set, if according to our code, if it is Mule 3, we are going to set this as default. But today, what demo I'm going to give is about a Mule 4. So that's the reason here it is by default we have set up. Okay, and then we will also talk about what are the rules of Mule 4 and Mule 3. Okay, so this is the further steps. Coming back to the next slide, wherein rules addition and start the Sonar. So there are rule files which are already created. Let's talk about one or two rules. Okay, Mule credential vault should not use a hard-coded encryption key. Okay, most of the times you must have seen that, secure property placeholder which we are using, the encryption key which we want to give to our property, that is something we initially while doing the development, that is not something we take from the Jenkins or we take from the Mule artifact JSON. Sometimes it is stored in the code. So such a errors should get caused. On top of that, we are going to mention in the severity major or whether the type is bug or whether there are three types actually. Type is bug, the code smell, and the another type is a vulnerability. I would just give you one liner definition of all three. Bug is something, a coding error, which is going to break your code for sure. Okay, so if you have a bug in your code, that is not something we should go to the another environment. The vulnerability is something wherein that is the open point which can attack. For example, I'll give you an example of an auto discovery ID. Now, you know, auto discovery ID is a linkage between what API you are doing on the Anypoint Studio and if you want to implement the policies on the API manager. So that is called as a vulnerability. That is one example. Then there is a code smell, which is just about a maintainability. It is not something which is a must have, but it is good to have. So such a types are there. Accordingly, severity also is something which we can set. So whenever these rule files, this is again, you can keep adding your customized rules. Not every API, for example, if you're using a database or HTTP, the SFTP, accordingly that your rules will also get changed. Okay, so one rule I read for you, another rule is configuration file should not have so many flows. So this is also, as you know, there is, if there is you have a big flows, if you have a big worker files, it is always better to for the understanding of a code to create another configuration files as per the main operations or main resources, instead of creating all the flows in just one worker file. That becomes really complex. So this is one of the rules. So if your organization or if your project or client requirement, it has that you know, a thing wherein the file can have multiple flows, definitely you can remove this rule. You don't have to remove it. This is, or these are all the rules which you either check manually, that is those all rules you can pick up and put it here. So this is how rule 4 file is created. And after the steps which I showed you, after that the mule profile is going to get added. Otherwise, if anybody is only doing the Sonar setup, if you guys will try to, after starting the Sonar, if you open this UI in the Sonar, you won't be able to see the mule profiles. It has to be added externally. The next thing is, as I said, the jar which was created, that is something which we are going to put into the plugins. Okay, now the next step is starting the Sonar. Starting the Sonar is actually, you just have to click on Start Sonar Bat. You can double click on this. This is how the Sonar starts. I'll show it to you in this window. See this. Your entire last message should be Sonar Cube is up. While we were doing this, it was giving some elastic port issues, which I explained that how we have resolved it, playing around the ports and etc. That is something we have implemented and it was resolved later. So this is how Sonar Cube is up. That is the message which you should be able to see in the last. Let's talk about a code now. Okay, now just for a demo purpose, I have already built a code. Honestly, just to show you maximum vulnerabilities, bugs, and the the errors, I have purposely not added any nice good standards. Only it's just that I have kept the less flows and etc. But nothing great I have added. On top of that, yeah. So if you see, the listener is there, object store is there. Just a simple code, just to show you that how many error it could give you on the basis of your rule files. So to run your code, what you're going to do is, there is this command, this is the final command, where in MVN Sonar you'll add your URL. So this is your URL of a local. Okay, now localhost, meaning this is a Sonar UI URL which I was trying to show you. So if you go on to any code, for example, this is my code, I just have to go here, properties, and I can open this code using a command prompt. How do I do it is this, and then I try to build the code using this command. We'll also make some changes and try to see it again. Coming back to the slide, this is how your UI is going to be. Quality profile is something which I've already discussed. Projects, this is the tab wherein whatever project you run, you will be able to see it there. Okay. One thing I forgot to mention is, if you want to run any project, in the POM file, you have to add this plugin. Okay, do not forget this. Otherwise, if you try to do this, it is not going to give you a build successful. You have to have this Maven plugin to the Sonar plugin to show you the coverage report and etc. Okay, this is something you will online, you will automatically get. Let's check if this is completed. Yeah, this is completed. And if we go back, what we can do is we can click on the projects. Last analysis was 40 seconds ago. What you can do is you can refresh this. It was 45 seconds. Now you have to click on the project. Okay. You have to go in the overall code. Okay. So now there are 2 bugs. The code smell is 6. The bugs are 2. There is no vulnerability actually. Let's check that. One of the vulnerability we can try to add. If you see the code, as I told you, nothing fancy is added in the code. No standard is followed. That's the reason you can see HTTP listener should use a specific port property. We have not taken it from the property. API kit global exception. API kit itself is not used. Okay. So API kit, again, another API kit error it has given. API ID auto discovery should not use a hard coded value, meaning we have used the auto discovery, but it is a hard coded value. Generally, it should come from the property file. Why it should come from the property file? Because for every environment, the auto discovery ID is changed. Now, again, the flow names. So nothing fancy, nothing standard thing has been followed. That's the reason such errors are coming. Let's talk about bugs. Bugs is something, if you don't resolve this, you're not going to you cannot promote your code to the next environment for sure, because it is talking about credential and resources should be managed within application properties. No application property is added here. HTTP status code should have been properly set inside the exception handler. So if exception handler itself is not used. Now there is no vulnerability. Let me try to add one just for the example. Yeah, fine. Okay, so this was hard coded. Now you're seeing this hard coded is there. This should get removed from the the code smell. I've removed it, auto discovery ID, I don't want. And what I'll do is I'll run it again. Okay, let's see here. As I told you, we have to go in the projects. Yeah, exactly. It got run 15 seconds ago. Okay. Can you see there were code smell were 5 and it was showing that the auto discovery, though it is an error only, like it just that from code smell it moved up to vulnerability, because vulnerability says that the auto discovery itself is not there. Okay, but the code smell, whatever we saw, that is something which is good to do, but that is not something which is must. If you ask me, as per the standard, it should be must, because we don't put our code only on one environment. We definitely have different environments to add our codes, but the error has been moved to vulnerability, and now in vulnerability it says auto discovery should be used to register the app in the API manager. So if you added the auto discovery, it will go to code smell. Again, from code smell, if that auto discovery ID is a part of a property file, or we are taking it from probably property file or artifact JSON anywhere, so that error again from code smell it will not come. Okay, so this is the way we are running the rules.
Yeah, sorry to cut
on
you. There is
on
one
one.
question actually from Abhay, which is saying like,
Uh-huh.
does the bug, any bug, it says like on which line number we have got the error? So on the bug, is the line number mentioned in the UI? Like in which line number we got the error?
Sorry. Which question, Sumit, are you talking about? From
Abhay,
Abhay
Abhay
cave?
Agarwal.
Agarwal.
From Abhay Agarwal.
Okay. Abhay, does it shows line number in mule code where code smell or bug? Let's have a look. So if we open anything, for example, this is a bug. Can you see, Abhay?
I think he
Hello,
can't
hello.
speak now, so I think he don't have access. Yeah,
And
so I think
he replied.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. The another is there was one question which I saw, but is that the question? Bad jobs will not have API kit when run for sonar check. Will it report API kit missing issue? So KM, this totally depends upon what you are adding into the rule file. If you're particularly running for this batch job APIs, so first of all, even if it's a batch APIs for another flows, for example, a get status flow, wherein we are just checking the status of the API. For that, at least we add API management. Okay. Still, if you choose not to add API management and it is purely not REST API or any other kind of API, then you can customize your own rule files, and whatever issues, miss errors which are with respect to API kit, that is something which you can remove from your list. If you remove it from your list, Sonar is not going to do automatically. Sonar will only check against your list. I hope that
So
answers your
there are
question.
more questions from Guru Simran Singh.
I was facing issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rutuja, I'm reading. I was facing issue in adding Sonar Cube quality gates to Jenkins build pipeline. If you can show implementing that thing. So Gurzimaran, if I'm pronouncing your name right, I hope so, but sorry if I'm not. So yeah, for Jenkins pipeline is something even we have not tried, because I said the kind of APIs which I have developed or I have worked had too many flows and too many complexities. So it's still on the local, but it's in the progress. Like I'm trying that thing wherein multiple similar APIs we are able to we are trying to find out, and then we are going to set up one customized set of rules. So this about the Jenkins build pipeline, I'm sorry I can't answer right now, but definitely you keep pinging me on the LinkedIn. I'm available, so if I achieve that, I'll definitely get back to you. Abhay Agarwal, your thing is, where is the line number? I think that is getting highlighted and it is not talking about the line number.
line number also we can see here on the left hand side. If you see, the line number starting from 1, so we can have the line. We can see the line number on the selected section that we have on the particular bug.
Sumit, can you help me to highlight that?
This is already highlighted, right? Can you on the bug you can see?
No, no. What Abhay is asking is there a line number mentioned? That's what he's asking. I am saying that it is highlighted, meaning yes, these numbers are there and it is highlighted also. But Abhay,
On the left hand side,
are we like answering
Supriya,
your
on the left
question?
hand side, I can see the line number starting from line number 1.
It's the exact.
This na?
Yeah, these are the XML line numbers.
So even I know, even I can see that, but I am asking Abhay that is it fine?
This is
He
the only
is
line
asking
number.
Line
for code bug 1, on which line is that bug?
14, line number
okay,
14 is the
okay.
bug.
Line.
You see, HTTP listener 0.0 port and protocol. So this should have taken from property file, right?
Okay, so he is particularly asking. So are you saying, Abhay, that if we click on this, for example, if we just click on this bug, it should only highlight that thing? Are you trying to say that? Because according to me, whatever bugs are coming, it is highlighting about
He
all
meant
the
to say
bugs together,
yes.
right? Yeah, so I told him that. So if particularly any error we are clicking, it is actually showing all the bugs which has caught. So it is not doing it for the independent, it is not doing. Abhay, correct, got it. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so this is what, coming back to this, I think there is another conclusion only. But yeah, the people who are asking about Jenkins, definitely, like that is something, just because we do not have similar codes, it is being bit difficult to customize it and implement one common thing for all the type of. So it is currently, as of now, whatever I am using for that, it is half a manual thing and half a sonar code, a sonar cube, which we are still running on the local host. But if I get the answer, if I'm able to do it, I'll definitely inform you about it. So yeah, I just want to conclude it saying that automating the code review process reduces the delivery time, human error. Sonar Cube is definitely a good fit for that. Earlier also, uh, the codes which we have, like I worked in Java or JBoss technologies, there also we have kind of used a Sonar Cube. So yeah, it's a good add-on to do it for the MuleSoft codes. It's definitely saving a time of peers and architects for a basic code review comments. And definitely what we talked about is rule 3 and rule 4 list. This is something which can get added. This is, I think, currently only 21 rules are there as part of a Mule 4, and we can keep on adding the list. We can customize our rules talking about any timeout or, for example, TLS configuration. So this is something which we can do.
All right, thanks, Supriya.
Yes.
So if you're done with the session, can I resume the like one which I have left out?
Yeah, definitely, Sumit. I think your voice is better and it is not breaking now. So I'll move. Rutuja, that's fine,
Yeah,
right?
that is completely fine.
Yeah, Supriya, can you
Okay.
keep the slide
So,
on
guys,
the
as
map
you know,
object? Sorry to cut you.
yeah, I'm opening. I'm opening that slides. So, Sumit, you were here. You spoke about map.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were speaking about a map.
yeah. So I think I already spoke about map. Let's go on the next slide, map object. Okay. So first of all, sorry guys for the inconvenience I created. I think there is some primary network issue at my home. So for now, I have borrowed some network from outside. So I think let's wish me luck. I think let's hope it will work fine for now. So yeah. So map something is similar to map, but for map the input is array and the output is also array. But the map object is which is something which accepts the object as an input and it will also return the object in the output. So it iterates over an object using a mapper that acts on three arguments, which is value, key, and index. So in Mule 3, if you remember, in Mule 3 we were having only two arguments, value and key. We are not having indices, but in Mule 4, in Mule Data View 2.0, we have they introduced a third argument as well, which is index. So that plays a very major role. So when we have such business requirement where we want to have play with the value, key, index, both the things, so we can play around that, and we can get the optimum result in short. Okay. So yeah, so Priya, can you go on the next slide? If you see on the snippet
Uh,
basically on the left hand side. Yeah, so like there are two objects with two fields. There's one object with two fields A and C. Okay, and we are just returning that by reversing the value. So if you see, I think you moved on the next slide.
I'm sorry, Sumit.
Yeah. So we are just reversing the field value with the key and field key with the value in that way. So if you see on the right hand side, the output says the same. So in that case, when we want to return, when we want to play with the values, when we want to have a filter on the values on or on the keys or on the indices, this is the best function that we can have that we can apply on any object. Okay. Now you can move on next slide, please, Surya. Okay, thank you. So the next one is a very basic one also, and most importantly used where we want the filter function when we want to filter the specific data as per our requirement. So it can, this function can working on an array. So it iterates over an array and it applies an expression that we need that we require for our fulfillment, and it will return the matching values in the output in an array only. So if you see on the snippet on the left hand side, we have the array of 0 to 5 numbers, And in the snippet and the data weave expression, we have written a payload filter, which is having two arguments, value and index, and we are applying the expression on the value. Okay, so here it is value mod 2, which is a very basic function, very basic expression. So whatever number it will come, which is being mod by 2, that only that will be coming in the output. If you see, 2 and 4 are the correct numbers which can which are divisible by 2. So here we can have, what we can achieve is basically, suppose in our requirements, usually we have n number of arrays in the input payload, and we want to retrieve only those ones based on the conditions where we have some specific conditions on the for the target side. So we can use this filter function very efficiently in order to get the optimum result as per our requirement. Yeah, so that was about filter. So can you go on next slide, please? Hello.
Supriya, you there?
I think now Sheila.
Okay, let me call you.
Hello, am I audible?
Supriya.
Yeah, you are audible. Rutu, case, can you share your screen? Is it possible for you? Supriya, I guess.
Yeah, I'll do it. No issues.
Thank you, thank you.
Hello, actually I'm back, but Rutuja, if you're doing it, do it. Meanwhile, I'll answer what Sagar has said. Is there any doc to configure SonarQube? Yeah, definitely. There is this PPT. It has all the links. So I will give those links to you. And it has a document reference link also. Can you please share the rule sheet as part of a presentation? That will be great. Yes, Midun, I will share them.
Okay, can you keep the slide on reduce, like after the filter function? Yes, thank you. Okay, so this reduce function is also working like a filter only, also working like a map only. But this function, what it does is basically reduce the size of your array. If you have the input array of 10 elements, so it will reduce your input element to smaller size as per the requirement. So how and why it is being used? So basically, it supplies a reduction expression to every element of your array. For example, every element of your input array, for each element of your input array, applies the received lambda expression which we want to use, and then replaces the accumulator with the new result every time. So what it does in simple languages, if you see on the left hand side, the snippet says the input payload says there are eight elements starting from 1 to 8. And if you see on the line number 5, we are doing the total sum, where we have the lambda expression as reduce dollar dollar plus dollar. So what it will do, it will take the first and second element, 1 plus 2, and it will store the result of those two elements and pass the result to the next element of the array. So every time it is like that, every time it does the same, just like the functionality of for loop. And in the end, we'll get the total of all the numbers. On the right hand side, we'll get the output as total sum is 36. If you see on the next expression, which is on line number 6, which is on even sum. So what it does is basically it will sum of all the numbers which are even and not odd. Okay. So based on the expression, we have used filter function here, the one which I just spoke about before in the previous slide. So we are using filter function here, and then we are applying the reduce function on that filtered array basically. So it will produce the result in it. So here we are using combining two operations or two functions in it. So based on our business requirement, we can analyze, and we have to analyze, and we have to think what is the best way to optimize our data weave, and what is the best function that we need to use for this for our requirements. So we should not go via every time. We should go for an instant optimal result every time. So yeah, this was all about reduce. Can you go on the next slide, Dutusha, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next one is the flatten. I think you all must be aware of. So this flatten is that's the very basic concept of like it will arrays. So on the input side, there must be a collection of arrays. So it will merge all your arrays, all your sub arrays into one single array in the output. So if you see, so it turns out an array of set of sub arrays into single flattened array. And also, like if you see on the left hand side in the snippet, we have on line number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 5 arrays. On the third array is empty. Okay, so it will not return the empty array on the right hand side, but it will combine all the arrays that we have mentioned in the input section. So whenever we get any such requirement where we want to flatten, where we want to merge the incoming arrays, so we can use this function simply. And there is no need to use the map function again, do the plus plus operator and going via. So this function will fulfill the purpose for us in that scenario. Yeah. Can you go on the next slide, please?
Sure.
Okay. So the next one is pluck. So this pluck function is also very effective. I think this is mostly very similar to map object, where the input is object and the output is object. But this pluck, the only difference between map object and pluck is pluck accepts the input as an object, but it produces the results as an array. Okay. So if you see on the left hand side, we have object which is having 3 elements, and on the right hand side, it is containing the result is an array and not the object. It's also having the 3 arguments just like a map object, which is value, key, and index. This function was not there in Mule 4.3, and this was recently introduced Mule 4.2, and later DataWeave 2.0. And using this, we can achieve the scenario where we have the object as an input and we want to produce a result. In that case, instead of using map object, we can go for this function. So just an alternative. Otherwise, there is no much difference between map object and block other than the output. Yeah, thank you. Can you go on the next slide, please, Rituja? Okay. So
Yeah.
these the ones which I just explained, 4 to 5 functions, core functions that were very basic, and I think you all must have aware of. But these functions are newly introduced, which I'm going to talk about now. So the very first is keys of, which is being recently introduced in Middle 4.3. So what it does basically, so when we want to return the all the keys, okay, from the input payloads, it works on the object. So this function will return an array of keys, okay, from the key value pairs within the input object. So here the input should be an object, but the output it will throw is an array, and it will return you all the keys of the incoming object. So here, if you want to achieve this function using a pluck operator, we can achieve this as well. But pluck operator, uh, for pluck operator, we have to write some 4 to 5 lines, but this keys of function will does this purpose in 1 line. So if you see, just by using keys of payload, we are getting the desired output. So it is again optimizing the payload from the data view from 4 lines to 1 line. So in that scenario, we can directly use keys of. And also, if you go on next slide, Rituja, please. Also, there is some similar function to that, which is values of, just an opposite of that, where this function will serve the purpose of producing all the values from the incoming object. So wherever we want any like all the values to get returned and like pass it for the further processing, we can directly use values of. We don't have to use map or map object here or pluck operator here, or using filter. So it's not, we should not go via where. Instead of we have this direct functionality to use values of function and get the desired output in one go. Okay, this was all about. Okay, so next, this was all about core functions. So the another one is the arrays, which is another module of DataWeave. So this module contains all the helper functions for working with arrays. So all this plays a very important role in simplifying your complex business logics, basically. And basically, once you got to know all these basic functions, you can cover, you will have a better understanding which function to use in which scenario or which requirement, and ultimately you can optimize your data weave in your way, or you will not feel any complexity of coding, and your code will be that smooth, and you will basically know like what's the best way to use in which scenario, what's the best function. So we'll start with these are the basic, these are the very unique array module functions that I have picked up for this today's session. So let's go one by one. Rutuja, can you go to the next slide, please? Yep. So the first one is drop. So for drop, as the name suggests, what it will do, it will drop the elements for you from the incoming payload. So if you see the on the line number 3, we have the array of 3 elements: Mariano, Leandro, and Julian. And on the 6th expression, we are putting drop users 2. So it accepts 2 arguments. The first one is the payload that we need to put. So users is the payload, and 2 is something, the number of elements that we need to drop. So if we are saying drop users comma 2, so 2 elements we need to drop from the input payload. So the resulting payload will be the left out payload with that we need. So in any scenario where we know, like, yeah, we want to remove some number of elements every time from the payload, so we can directly use this drop. There is no need to use some other code functions. So this is the very ultimate heavy function that we can use, that we can apply on the input array and get the desired output in one go. So if you go on the next slide, there is one similar function, drop while, which does the same purpose, which serves the same purpose, but there is one difference in drop and drop while is the condition. Okay. So the previous one, in which where it was accepting the number of elements that we need to put. Okay. 2 or 4 or 5, whatever we'll put, it will drop. But here is total depends on the condition. So whenever we say drop while dollar less than 3, so 0 less than 3, yes. 1 less than 3, yes. So these two are less than 3. But whenever 3 comes, 3 less than 3, so 3 is not less than 3. So here the condition fails. And as soon as the condition is failing, it will stop the selection process. So it will remove 0 and 1 only, and it will return the left out elements of the array. And also there is one note. If we put, if we go on the drop function once, Tuja, please. Yeah. So there is one condition here. If we say that, like someone says, like drop users -1, -2. So there is no element like that. So it will handle it automatically. If you put -0 or 0 or 1, so it will give us the entire array, because we are not asking the array to drop any elements, right? And on the reverse side, if you say 5, 4, so there are no 5, 4 elements present. So it will remove all the array. So it will handle automatically. It will not throw any error. Yep. Can you go on the next function, please? Okay, the next function is first with. Okay, so the first with function is also very tremendously being used in all the database function, like in all the business requirements. So the basic functionality of this first with is basically it is being used by 4.3 and later, and it's very useful and effective. What it does is it returns the first element that satisfies the condition, and it will return null if the no element satisfies the condition. So based on the snippet, if we see on the left hand side, we have 3 objects with the name and last name field. And on the snippet, if you see on the line number 6 and 7, so the line number 7 says user.name equals to Mariano. So it will return all the objects which has the name as a Mariano. So Mariano comes 2 times on the input payload, but it will only return as the first time. So if you have any business requirement where you have multiple duplicate values in the input, and you just want to have a first value where you can filter on the amount, you can filter on the first name, you can filter on the last name, any such business field on the calculation field you can filter on, and you will get the desired only the first element. So in that way you can remove the duplicate values as well. No need to apply a filter and map and go via. So this is the best function to use for. And yeah, and second scenario says username equals to Peter, because Peter is not present in the incoming payload, so it will not give you error, but it will give you the null as an output. So if you see on the right hand side, B equals to null.
Sumit,
So that was
before you move further, there's a question for keys of. Will keys of also
yeah,
tell which data type it is?
data type. It is no, it will just return the array of keys. That's it.
Okay, right. And
There
then
is
there is
no
a
data type.
question from Sagar is, can we select first 500 records using a drop while?
Drop while, yeah, we can select now. So let's say we have 10,000 records, okay, in the array, and we want to drop uh, the starting of the 5,000 elements, right? But if you want to remove the next 5,000 elements, okay, next 5,000 elements, so there is some different function as well, which I'm going to speak about in the next slides.
So if you just wait for some time, I think you will get an answer.
Okay, fine, Sumit. So this was the only two questions. Next, Rutuja.
Yep. Thank you, Supriya. Okay, so can you go on the next slide, please? So okay. So next one is split at. Okay. So as the name itself says, split at this function will is going to split your array into two, but at a given position that you are going to provide. Okay. So here I'm providing users split at one. So what is one is saying is one is at like the first position. It will split the array, and this produces an standard output of L and R, which is nothing but the left and right. If you see on the right hand side, the output says on the left and the right. So it will split your array based on the condition, based on the number that you're putting. So if I say 1, so still 1, the all the elements will be on the left hand side, and all the left out elements will be on the right hand side. So whenever you want to split your array based on the number, let's say if you want to split your array every time on the number on the position 48 or 49, you can simply use this function. If you go on the next function, the similar function we have on the split functionality, which is split where, which is nothing but which will allow us to split the array based on the condition. Okay, so where we want to split, so here we are giving the condition as item starts with, which is another core function, starts with jul. Okay, and if you see on the incoming payload, in the input payload, the third name Julian starts with that. So as soon as Julian comes in, it will satisfy the condition and it will start splitting the array. So if you see on the right hand side, as the condition is meeting, the from Julian the input payload is being splitted out. The initial elements are on the left side, and after the condition is getting satisfied, all the elements are on the right hand side. So in that way we can process further on the left and right side elements on based on our business requirements. So we can split the array and we can then process further. So if you want to split the array based on our requirement, in that way, because what drop function will do, it will drop out the remaining elements, but this split function will allow us to produce the result of every time. In the output we can see all the elements, the dropout ones as well, and the condition, all the elements from which the condition has been satisfied. Okay. Yeah, can you please go on next one? Okay, so the next one is take. Okay, so this is exactly the opposite of drop. So I think someone has questioned that. So what it does is basically, instead of dropping, it will take that elements. So if you see on the left hand side, the snippet says the input which you have 3 elements, and the database script which is having take uses 2. So instead of dropping, it will take those elements, Mariano and Leandro. Okay, so the same functionality, like the same mechanism that we have in drop, but instead of drop, it will take. So in that way, we can take the starting 5,000 elements from your array function. If you go on the next slide, there is similar function like drop while. We have take while as well. What it does is basically it will take the elements, it will extract the elements from your input payload, input array based on the condition, and it will say like dollar less than equals to 1. So whatever number that we have, whatever numbers that we are having in the elements of an array, like 0 is less than equals to 1, 1 is less than equals to 1. So yeah, till that time it will take that. Once the condition is getting unsatisfied, it will stop the selection process and it will just take out only those elements until that the condition is being met. And in the take function, there is one similar note that if we say like the take function, if you go on the previous slide, Rutuja, please, there is the same note, like if we say take users -0 or sorry -1 or -2, so it won't give you any result because -1 -2 is not there. So it will give you the empty array, but it will not produce any error. And if you say take users 8 9, then it will give you the entire array, but it will not produce any error. So these error exception handling is being automatically handled by DataView. Yeah, if you go on the next slide. Okay, so I think with this I have covered all the basic or unique functions that I wanted to cover on for this session. And this is a quick hacks that I have came across using my journey of MuleSoft. So I have 4 years of experience, and these are the quick hacks that I have been experienced. So if you see on the first snippet, we are using map operator, and as I explained, the map operator accepts the input as an array and produces the output as an array. But whenever we want to produce the output as object, but by using the map we can do that as well. And that's the reason I am saying this as a quick hacks, because hacks is something which is not usually made for that.
Sumit, before you speak about quick hacks, there are two questions. So while first question is, does take while keep all elements that evaluate to true, or stop taking when the condition becomes false the first time? So this is the question for take while.
Yeah. So what does take while does is basically it's opposite to drop while. So it will check from the very starting element of your array, and it will check the condition every time. As soon as the condition gets met, it will stop the selection process. Till that time it will take all the elements, and that's it.
Okay.
Take
So
while what it does, it will check the condition every time, and as soon as the condition is getting unsatisfied, it will it will stop taking the elements.
okay.
Till the time the condition is getting met, it will keep on taking.
Okay. So Idi Riado, if sorry to pronounce your name in a wrong way, but does that answers your question? Yeah, he's saying got it, thanks. Then Sagar is asking that are we going to cover join in array?
Join in array, and I no, I think that is not being covered by in the today's session. I think all the arrays I covered, like whatever we wanted to cover for this section. So join array is not something that we are going to cover. Sorry for that.
Sorry, Sagar, for that. But anybody else in the group who knows about it, they can paste the answer if anybody is aware. Otherwise, Sagar, you can definitely reach out to me or Sumit on a different site, and we can definitely discuss about it. Okay? Okay,
Yep,
fine.
sure.
Sumit, you can talk about a quick hacks now.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, like quick hacks is nothing but what is mean by hacking. Basically, hacking is something when something is being meant for some purpose, but we are using that thing for some another thing. Okay, so map operator is being used to iterate over arrays, but here we are producing an result of object using a map operator. So if you see on the below snippet, what it does is basically I have covered the whole expression with a JSON curly braces. In that way, we can have the output in that means like the JSON object. So this was a just quick hack which I experienced it by having lots of data view mechanisms and a lot of data view practice. And if you go on the next one, there is one more hack which I wanted to highlight. Okay, how to dynamically populate a value. Maybe there are some other ways as well to how to populate a dynamic value or of any particular field. If you see on the left hand side, there is a JSON object with two fields, first name and dynamic key. And in the snippet, I have line number 3, variable key equals to dynamic key, and on the 6th line, I am giving the expression as payload dot dollar key. So key is nothing but the dynamic key, and on the right hand side I'm getting the output. So whatever value that we are going to get in the input payload from in the field dynamic key, we'll get that output. Okay, so we don't have to change every time. So this will allow us to have or populate a dynamic don't populate a value dynamically basically from any JSON object. So can you go on the next slide, please? I think this was last. Yeah, so I think with this I have covered like all the data view functions, the very useful functions from the core module, from the array module. There are many other modules as well, but due to time constraint we couldn't manage that. And once again, I'm very sorry for the inconvenience I created in the beginning, but I hope like it's better now. Okay, thank you.
So let me go forward.
Sorry, did you say something?
Yeah, I said I'll be going forward.
Yep, sure. Thank you.
So now it's networking time. we'll have one question and answer session, and we'll have a discussion. So anyone is having any questions till now, we'll discuss here. We'll come up with your questions that you have pop up in the chat window, and we'll try to answer those. I think we are quite done with the questions. If you have any questions, you can write it down, or we can do quick session or discussion. If not, Supriya, you can go ahead and you can start asking questions for our next quiz round. So we have prizes to give away. So Supriya will be asking 3 questions. Those who all are going to answer the questions, like 3 questions, and we will be selecting 3 out of we'll be selecting the 3 we'll be selecting 3 people out of those questions who will be answering correctly, and those people will win these trivia prizes like a voucher. Supriya, over to you.
Yes. So I am pinging. First of all, thank you everybody for being so patient and hearing our sessions. And as I've already mentioned, whatever doubts are there, please reach out to us. We'll try to clarify your doubts. Not in this session, but wherever you can reach out to us, and we can get ahead. Like we can go ahead and start with the quiz. So here is the first question. Whoever knows it, please like paste your answer in the chat window itself. Lookup operation can call a subflow. The 2 options are true, false. So Rutuja, you can okay. Okay. So wait. Yeah, you can mark Hemakanta Mehra. That answer is Abhay. You can try that. It will give you error for sure. So it is a false. Kishore, you too. It is a false. Okay, you can't do it.
Okay, we'll move forward for the next question.
I am pasting. Just hold on.
Yeah.
Here is the second question. What is the default sonar port? You can mark Dheeraj. Hold on. Yeah, Dheeraj. Okay. And the third question is this. Let me know if you're able. Question. Okay, so there is a sentence, and then you have to identify what it is. Okay. So whether it's a bug, it's a code smell, or it's a vulnerability, it's a definition, and you just have to give the answer. Yeah, you can mark Vamsi Krishna.
Yes.
I think we don't have repeating, right?
No. So I think we got our 3 trivia quiz winners: Hemkanta Mehra, Dheeraj Singh, and Vamkrishna Boleni. Congratulations to all the trivia quiz winners. Let's move to the other slides. If you have any other questions, Supriya, you can ask. We can have a quite interactive session.
No, that's it. I think rest of the questions, people, it's something which day-to-day people do, like flatten, reduce is something they're going to answer. This is something which was easy also and tricky. So that's something which I asked, but yeah, like no more questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Supriya. We'll move forward with trainings and certifications for MuleSoft. Okay, so we have self-paced HTML format courses with step-by-step instructions to go deep on any topic. So the available courses will be for Mule 3 and Mule 4. There are new users for Mule 4 and Mule 3 users. New courses for Mule 4, Mule 3 users. They will be having flow design and getting started with the Anypoint platform. So suppose if you are completely new to MuleSoft background, in that case, the courses are available. And the first voucher will be free of cost. So you just have to enroll yourself and get rolling into the Anypoint Studio and get to deep dive into the instructions and the step-by-step topics. There is one instructor-led connectivity training. There is 1 to 5 days in person or online trainings available, 12 available courses, and for all profiles like developers, architects, admins, IT operations, and managers. So you will get to know the learning path while registering yourself into training.mulesoft.com. Become the certified MuleSoft certified developer level 1. You'll have to give a self-assessment quiz and DIY exercise to prepare for MCD level 1 certification. So you can get it that through training.mulesoft.com. You'll have to go there. You'll have to register yourself. There will be some DIY exercises available. You'll have to do it, and you can try for your self-assessment quiz for MCT level 1. There will be 60 plus questions and then plus do it yourself. That means DIY exercises to apply and test the knowledge gained in the Anypoint platform development fundamental classes.
Hello, Rutuja. We are not able to hear you. Hello.
Yeah, I think I was in mute.
Yeah.
Sorry. So can I start from here itself?
No, I think we have heard this, right? This was done.
Okay.
This was done.
Okay, so this one is also done?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so to get ready to become the certified MuleSoft developer level 1 certification, you'll have to give your DIY exercises and self-assessment quiz. You will have 60 plus questions and 10 do-it-yourself exercises to apply your knowledge and test the knowledge on Anypoint platform development and fundamental classes. 90% of the candidates who use these resources are able to pass the exam. So you can go and register yourself through these quiz rounds and certifications through training.mulesoft.com/courses/fundamentals/quiz DIY. You will get your MCT level 1 certification from here itself. Just you have to give your free self-assessment quiz exam. So for more certifications to validate your skills, confirm mastery of concepts, achieve industry recognitions, differentiate yourself into the marketplace. So the certifications that are available through training.mulesoft.com are MCD level 1, level 1 Delta. After that, integration and API associate, MCD API design associate, MCD integration professional for Mule 3, certified platform architect level 1, and MuleSoft certified integration architect level 1. Points to remember. So for certifications and trainings, you'll have to enroll yourself into training.mulesoft.com. And that is, if you are a new joiner, if you are completely new to MuleSoft, you'll get MCD4 free certification voucher when completing the Mule4 self-service course. Okay. For training queries, you'll have to log into help.learn.mulesoft.com. There are many people available, like thousands of people are there on the Baby platform as well to help you out. And with your queries or any challenges you face, you can write your query to help.mulesoft.com. So that's a very good community to follow. For leveraging Overstackflow, we will also have overstackflow.com, and that is mainly for DataWeave and runtime. So be ready. Datasheets are available to get ready for trainings and exams. Everything you need to know is each course and each exams to set up your requirements. So this is the MuleSoft documentation that you will find for Mule 4 and Mule 3 as well. You just have to go through talks.mulesoft.com for more information. And if you wanted to ask your questions, you can just go to the help.mulesoft.com or forums.mulesoft.com, where you can find all your trainings and certificate related questions. So I would like to tell you all that if you wanted to join our network for Lucknow Meetup Group, this is the link, meetups.mulesoft.com/Lucknow. You can join our network through this link, and you will also get notified whenever Lucknow Meetup happens, and all your upcoming events will get pop up there as well. So just enroll yourself and join the group. The feedback, that is what really matters to us, and that is really valuable. So you all are attending this Lucknow Meetup, and if you feel any suggestions or any new thing that we should come up with or new topics, so you can drop a note to us through LinkedIn, or you can contact to meetup@mulesoft.com to what are the ways that we can improve our program, and just share your valuable feedback. You will get an email post this event stating the feedback email, so you can add your feedback there as well. So thank you all for attending this meetup. I would like to thank Supriya and Sumit. This is one of the most valuable topics, I think, and most wide topics that we have covered today. And really, it is really helpful for us as well, to how to go through the SonarQube and how to integrate that in our project. And DataWeave, of course, it's a really powerful tool, and yes, yeah. So whoever is new to this MuleSoft platform, that is really a very valuable and important lessons. So I'm really thankful to Supriya and Sumit for becoming the speaker of this event and solving the problems for our attendees. As well, I'll have to congratulate our trivia winners, Hemkanta Mehra, Dheeraj Singh, and Vansi Krishna Boleni. You will get your voucher soon. So thank you so much for attending this meetup.
Thank you, Rutuja, and thank you everyone. Bye bye.